Hey everybody, I'm Benjamin, aka The Terrible Australian of supermarcy.com, and this is my video review of Hot Pursuit, which is the new comedy starring Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara. So let's get right into it. Uh, I would have to say, out of all the genres of film, I would have to say the hardest one to get right is comedy. Because comedy is definitely one of the most subjective of genres, whether it's in film or in TV or and all that, because what one person finds funny, another person is not going to find funny at all. So, but that, but that's sort of, but at the same time, I wasn't sure what to expect from the film Hot Pursuit because, like, the trailers I didn't think were that great, but I was hoping for the best. That maybe it's just usually it's just a bad trailer, and the film itself might end up being decent. Because most of the time, most comedies do have pretty bad trailers because you sort of see them put jokes in the trailers that are sort of out of context, and what may not be funny in the trailer may actually be funny in the film if you actually see it in the context of how that joke is presented. And so I thought maybe Hot Pursuit would be sort of in line of that. Like, even though it's a very broad, sort of very Hollywood comedy, but there have been good ones like that it's similar to this in the past. So I thought, okay, well, hopefully it turned out to be a decent film. Unfortunately, though, I didn't think this movie was good at all. I have to say I didn't. I thought it was I just didn't find it funny at all. There are couple of amusing moments in the film, but they were kind of few and far between. And I feel like the problem with this film is that I feel like everyone is trying way too hard. Like, the script is sort of digging very deep to find laughs in this premise, but unfortunately it just wasn't able to find anything that sort of worked. And it's a shame, though, because I think Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara, who are very talented actresses in their own way, you could tell that they're trying to make the best of this script and try to sort of make it as funny as it possibly can. But unfortunately, it just seemed to me like they were just trying a little too hard to be funny, and it just came off a bit too forced. And it doesn't help that sort of Anne Fletcher, who directed the film, her sort of filmography is very mixed. Like she made Step Up, 28 Dresses, and The Proposal, which I think is probably her best film that she's done so far. And I actually enjoyed that one, but unfortunately she wasn't sort of able to sort of replicate the magic of that one to this film. And it didn't help that the script, besides, not being really funny at all, was kind of a bit cliche and predictable, which, that's fine because, not every film needs to be, 100% original, as long as it's all, but to me it always comes down to the execution. But unfortunately I just didn't think the film was really executed all that well. Like, I give credit for, everyone involved, trying to make the best, comedy that they can possibly make. Because, like I said, comedy is such a really hard genre to get right. But unfortunately, I just didn't think this film worked at all. And I've kind of found it also and I agree with another film critic, critics how they felt when they watched the film. They felt that the film was a bit of felt too shrill, and I can understand that, because it definitely seemed like it just became a little too much, and it just felt pretty forced. Like I said, there are some amusing moments every now and again, but like I said, it just doesn't. But they're sort of very few and far between, and I only sort of got a bit of a chuckle out of them. Nothing sort of hugely huge in terms of laughs or anything like that. And I don't think, like, even though Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara tried their best, unfortunately this is definitely not one of their best performances at all. They try very hard, but unfortunately I just didn't buy either of their characters, to be honest. Especially Reese Witherspoon's character. I just didn't feel any kind of relatability to her character at all. But I think that's really maybe that's just the way, the character was written, or it could have been Reese's performance. I'm not exactly sure, but I do give credit to both actresses. They go at these roles 100%, 110%, but unfortunately, I just didn't think that they were able to quite deliver. Although there was one performance in the film that I did like. I just have to find his name. Robert Kazinsky, who plays this character of Randy, who's this sort of like, former con that Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara's characters come across during the movie. And I actually thought he gave a really solid performance, and I found his character to be quite likable and even charming. And when I sort of looked up at who he was, because I kept thinking, like, who is this guy? Where have I seen him before? And then I looked up, he was actually one of the guys who played the Australian characters in Pacific Rim. And it's funny, though, because I actually felt he was really terrible in that he gave a terrible performance in that film. But in this one, it's the polar opposite. I thought he was pretty likable in this film. And another thing I do like about the film, and I do give the film credit for this, there's something that sort of happens in the third act, which I'm not going to spoil, but which I honestly was caught off guard by, and I didn't actually expect it at all. And it kind of sort of sent the movie in a slightly more interesting direction. Like, it's not an amazing type of, turn within the story, but I thought it just actually made me a bit more somewhat engaged a bit more with the film. But unfortunately, though, it's just not that good at all, and it's kind of poorly made, poorly directed, and poorly written, and other than sort of Robert Kazinsky, most of the performances I think kind of fell flat. Even though you can definitely tell while watching this film, though, that everyone is trying to make the best film as they possibly can. But unfortunately, I just didn't think it was. Unfortunately, I just found that not very good at all. Unfortunately, so. If I had to give this film a rating, I'd probably give it a 1.5, and I feel bad about that because like I said, you can tell that everyone is trying to make the best film that they possibly can with this, but unfortunately, it just wasn't able to deliver. Unfortunately, and I just thought it was a bad film. Unfortunately, so yeah, so that's the end of my video review of Hot Pursuit. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys all later. See you everyone.